गिरिवरदारी Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Radha Govinda ki, Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace, Shivasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki, Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace, Shiva Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, Text 3. Narayana namaskrityam naram chaiva naruttamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamutirayat. Sonu pravishto bhagavams Sonu pravishtu bhagavams Cheshta rupena tam ganam Cheshta rupena tam ganam Binam samyojayam asha Binam samyojayam asha Suptam karma prabodayan Suptam karma prabodayan Sonu pravishtu bhagavams Cheshta rupena tam ganam Binam samyojayam asha Suptam karma prabodayan Sonu pravishtu bhagavams Cheshta rupena tam ganam Binam samyojayam asha Suptam karma prabodayan. Sonu pravishta bhagavams Cheshta rupena tam ganam Binam samyojayamasha suptam karma prabodayan. Sonu pravishta bhagavan cheshtarupena tam ganam Binam samyojayamasha suptam karma prabodayan. Sonu pravishta bhagavan cheshtarupena tam ganam Binam samyojayamasha suptam karma prabodayan. Sonu pravishta bhagavan chishtarupena tam ganam Binam samyojayam asha suptam karma prabodayan. Sonu pravishta bhagavan cheshtarupena tam ganam Binam samyojayamasha suptam karma prabodayam. Sonu pravishta bhagavam cheshtarupena tam ganam Binam samyojayamasha suptam karma prabodayan. Saha, that anupravishta, this entering later on. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Cheshtarupena, by his representation of an attempt. Kali. Tam, them. Ganam, all the living entities, including the demigods. Binam, separately. Amyojayam asha, Samyojayam asha, engaged to work. Suptam, sleeping. Karma, work. Prabodayan, enlightening. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Thus, when the personality of Godhead entered into the elements by His energy, all the living entities were enlivened into different activities. Just as one is engaged in his work after awakening from sleep. Purport. Every individual soul remains unconscious after the dissolution of the creation and thus enters into the Lord with his material energy. These individual living entities are conditioned souls everlastingly, but in each and every material creation they are given a chance to liberate themselves and become free souls. They are all given a chance to take advantage of the Vedic wisdom and find out what is their relationship with the Supreme Lord, how they can be liberated, and what the ultimate profit is in such liberation. By properly studying the Vedas, one becomes conscious of his position and thus takes to the transcendental devotional service of the Lord and is gradually promoted to the spiritual sky. The individual souls in the material world engage in different activities according to their past unfinished desires. After the dissolution of a particular body, the individual soul forgets everything. But the all-merciful Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart as the witness, the super soul, awakens him and reminds him of his past desires. And thus, he begins to act accordingly in his next life. This unseen guidance is described as faith. And a sensible man can understand that this continues his material bondage in the three modes of nature. The unconscious sleeping stage of the living entity just after the partial or total dissolution of the creation is wrongly accepted as the final stage of life by some less intelligent philosophers. After the dissolution of the partial material body, a living entity remains unconscious for only a few months, and after the total dissolution of the material creation, he remains unconscious for many millions of years. But when the creation is again revived, he is awakened to his work by the Lord. The living entity is eternal, and the wakeful state of his consciousness, manifested by activities, is his natural condition of life. He cannot stop acting while awake, and thus he acts according to his diverse desires. When his desires are trained in the transcendental service of the Lord, his life becomes perfect, and he is promoted to the spiritual sky to enjoy eternal awakened life. Again the verse. Thus, when the personality of Godhead entered into the elements, by his energy all the living entities were enlivened into different activities, just as one is engaged in his work after awakening from sleep. Magyana timirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are in the midst of the conversation between Vidura and who else? Maitreya. Good. And they were speaking about what? Krishna consciousness, yes, and more particularly about the creation. Yes, pastimes of Krishna. How the wonderful creation of the material world is going on. And in the previous chapter, at some point, Maitreya was describing very beautiful prayers of the demigods when they have to help the Lord to create the universe, but they feel they are not qualified enough. They offer these prayers so that they can get enough strength and empowerment by the Lord, so that they can do properly their job. And now again we are back to the we can say technical parts of the creation, how the whole creation works. And in today's verse there are a few important things mentioned, especially in the purport of Srila Prabhupada. He's saying that every individual soul remains unconscious after the dissolution of the creation, and thus enters into the Lord with his material energy. These individual living entities are conditioned souls everlastingly, but in each and every material creation they are given a chance to liberate themselves. So basically, we know that the material creation is opportunity for the living entities to get liberated, to get free from their wrong mentality. And it's interesting here that it is said that they are condition souls everlastingly. So basically that's like their constitutional position. They are conditioned by nature. But happily we can read after that if they make a serious change in their mentality, they can become everlastingly liberated, or they can go eternally in the spiritual world where God resides. So what is the condition? How they can do this serious turn in their existence and in their consciousness? Srila Prabhupada is saying, first they have to remember who they are. First they have to remember their original position or original constitutional position. And we know that this means we have to remind ourselves, remember that we are eternal souls and we are eternal servants of God. And this is basically the beginning of spiritual life. Naham vipro nacha narapatir na vaishyo na shudro naham varni nacha grihpatir navanasto yatirva kintu prodani kila paramananta purnamritabdir gopi bhartu pada kamalayor dasa dasa anudasa. We have to understand and slowly to start living on this basis that we are servants of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, and basically that means we are servants of everybody else, because everyone else is also parts of Krishna. So if we are servants of Krishna, that means we are servants of the parts and parcels of Krishna as well. So this change of the mentality is the beginning of revival of our constitutional position. And then we cannot accept that we are servants of Krishna unless we accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to accept this as an absolute reality, absolute fact. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Nadiradir Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. We have to accept that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and then if you accept this, okay, he is the greatest, I am not the greatest, so I gotta be his servant. There is no other way. And then by understanding these two things, we should come to the next point in our spiritual understanding that, okay, if Krishna is the Supreme, if I am servant, then practically that means I have to do what? I have to serve, yes. If I understand it's a good thing, but if I really understand it, that means I have to do it. So that practically we have to start serving Krishna. And anyway, we are always serving. We don't have really a choice not to serve. Srila Prabhupada is making this point in some place in his lectures that anyway we will always serve. Just the question is who we are going to serve. Even if we don't want to serve any other living entity, what to speak of Krishna, then at least we have to serve our senses. We will serve our belly, we will serve our tongue, our genitals, but we have to serve. We don't have another choice than be a servant. There was some years ago, after the Srila Prabhupada Marathon, the BBT, they printed these switchers and they gave them to all the Sankirtan devotees. Do you remember? And there was, on the back there was, what's the goal of life? Ask me. So devotees, they were going with this on the streets with the idea that, okay, some people will come and ask them, so what's the goal of life? And nobody ever asked me until I went to Mayapur. And when I was in Mayapur one time, when I was going for the morning program, and Suhotra Maharaj, he passed me with his bike, and he just stopped and he said, so what's the goal of life? But actually one devotee one devotee, he prepared me. He said, if someone in Mayapur especially asks you what's the goal of life, at that time I was like very devotee beginner. I didn't have initiation. So he told me, if someone asks you this question, you just tell him, to serve you, Prabhuji, this is the goal of life. So when Scotra Maharaj asked me, so what's the goal of life? I said, well, to serve you, Maharaj. And he just made like that. He was not very much impressed by the answer. But anyway, what's the goal of life? The goal of life is to serve. And we know the best way to serve everybody is to serve Krishna. If Krishna is satisfied because he is the root of the whole material existence, as now we are reading in these verses, he is the root of the whole material creation. If he is satisfied, all other living entities, they will be automatically satisfied. Yata taror mula nishechanena tripyanti tat skanda bujo basaka pranopaharachaitindriyanam tataiva sarvarhanam achyuteja. If we give water to the root of the tree, automatically the whole tree becomes nourished. And if we give food to the stomach, automatically the whole body becomes nourished. So, in the same way, it's not necessary to try to serve all the living entities separately. If we just satisfy Krishna, the one living entity that is the root of the whole existence, all other living entities, they will become happy and they will become nourished and they will become satisfied. So, this is the root cause for all the anxieties and suffering of the living entities, that they don't know Krishna is the Supreme Lord and we are servants of Krishna and we have to practically serve Him. And this is also the root cause for the happiness of the living entities. When the living entities understand this reality, then they can be happy. And now how they are going to find out this? What is Srila Prabhupada saying in the purport? By properly studying the Vedas, one becomes conscious of his position and thus takes to the transcendental devotional service of the Lord. So, they have to study the Vedas. So, basically that means that someone has to give them the Vedas. Someone has to make this effort, this endeavor to give them the transcendental knowledge. And I was thinking actually this this material creation is really like a miracle, how it goes on, how it's developing, all the stages and everything. If you really go deeply into it, you'll be amazed. But I was thinking other miraculous creation is going on at the moment, and this is the creation of the Mahaprabhu's movement. This is another miracle that is going on. And also if you go deeply into it and see what's going on, what's happening, every moment, every day on the streets, you'll be again amazed. It's like miracles are going on left and right every moment. And it's again amazing, and it's again very simple from the perspective that just Mahaprabhu already made the whole arrangement. Everything is already predestined. But we have the opportunity to be just instruments. If we have this desire, we can just go out on the street and be an instrument. We can give the people this Vedas, the Vedic knowledge, and by studying it, they will understand who are they, what is the goal of life, how to be happy. This is their chance. We can do it by giving them a book, or we can make Harinam Sankirtan, and by this Harinam Sankirtan they can be attracted and just come and see, oh, what's going on here? Like, what are you doing? What is this? Give me something. I want to read. I want to know. Some years ago, with one devotee, every year in a row, few years, maybe 4 or 5 years, we are going to distribute books in Greece. We are distributing also prasadam for 1-2 years. And to some extent it's very easy there, the distribution, because Greek people, they are very curious people, extremely curious. Like, let's say if you have a basket and inside in the basket you have something like, I don't know, maybe for half an hour, 10, 15 people will come and ask you, what is this? In Greek they say, kinefta. What is this? Immediately they come to ask. So from this perspective it's very easy, because they just, very often people, they come on their own, especially if you distribute prasadam, and immediately they want to know what is this and how much it costs. Not everybody is buying, but they are very curious. So just by being there out on the street, some pious souls, they will just come and they will be curious. What are you guys? What are you doing? Why you are singing all the time the same thing? Like you don't know 2 songs, or what? You know only 1 song. And also, basically if they get this chance, if they get the chance to get in contact with the Vedic knowledge, they can revive their knowledge. Who are they? How to become really happy. Srila Prabhupada is saying that many people, they have this idea that they just want to put end of their existence. And this can mean material existence, but also spiritual existence. And they think this is the end of everything. When the dissolution comes and everything stopped existing, that means, okay, now we are perfect. We achieved perfection in life. But that is not exactly our understanding, because Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, we are soul, and the soul is eternally active. Previous Saturday we were speaking about this. And because he has desires, Srila Prabhupada is saying, he cannot stop acting while awake, and thus he acts according to his diverse desires. Because the soul has so many desires, the soul has to do something. And many people, because they are frustrated, they come to this idea that I have to accept a philosophy which finishes with nothing, with non-existence, shunya. Everything should become zero. Basically, this is the Buddhistic philosophy. We have to make everything zero. And this is actually the philosophy of, they become completely, what is the English word? Frustrated by all their opportunities to be happy in the material world, and that's why they want to find a philosophy that gives them the existence to stop, give them the excuse to stop exist. Just they want to finish it all. But Srila Prabhupada is saying this is not possible. Even if they come to this non-existing stage and they enter the body of the Supreme Lord, when the time for creation comes again, they will have to come, and again they will have to act according to their desire. And Srila Prabhupada is saying, so we have to use our when his desires are trained in the transcendental service of the Lord, his life becomes perfect. We have to train, we have to learn ourselves how to desire for Krishna. This is the, we can say, the basis for personal spiritual life. We learn every time to desire for Krishna. Like we know we have always this choice to choose Krishna or Maya, and every time we have to choose again and again. What? Are you sure? Yeah, we have to choose Krishna. But our good friend, Mr. Mind, is very often proposing that we don't choose Krishna, we choose the other option. And Srila Prabhupada is saying we have to train our mind in such a way that he always chooses service opportunity, how to serve Krishna, how to do something for Krishna, how to do something for the Vaishnavas, how to do something for the expansion of the mission of Krishna. And when we start desiring this, then spiritual life becomes very, very, very easy. And sometimes we are living the spiritual life externally, but internally we are desiring what? Huh? Well, sometimes externally we live spiritual life, but internally we are desiring material life. We are desiring material opportunities for sense gratification. And there is a clash inside ourselves. Like, externally we are doing what we have to do, but internally what we are desiring? Yes, material life. We want something else. We don't want Krishna, we want something else. And then this makes it very difficult externally to live the spiritual life, because you're not really 100% there. And this creates lots of difficulties. Like, we have to do something externally, but we want internally something else. So there is some tension. What is the solution? The solution is we have to desire for Krishna, and we have to engage ourselves fully in Krishna consciousness. Like, if you find something in Krishna consciousness that you really like to do, it will be very easily for you to put your desires in this direction. Let's say, for example, you are a great fan of book distribution. It's very easily to think from the previous day how next day you want to go again on Sankirtan, distribute books. Or you really love making Harinam, Kirtan for Krishna. It's very easily to desire next day to go and do it again. Or I don't know, you are an artist, you want to draw for Krishna. If you find something that you really desire to do in Krishna consciousness, then it becomes very easy for you. It becomes very natural. And then there is no this clash between what you're doing externally and what you desire internally. Everything becomes one flow, and then it becomes very easy in spiritual life. And I'm sure that the senior devotees, they can say that the more you practice Krishna consciousness, the more many things in Krishna consciousness become natural, and you actually desire to do them. Maybe in the beginning you like one thing, but you don't like others. But with the time, because you develop your love for Krishna, you start liking everything which is connected with Krishna. Like maybe in the beginning the kirtan was big fun, but the washing of the kitchen was like horror. But after, let's say, 15, 20 years in Krishna consciousness, you start liking both of them somehow. Not only the kirtan, not only the prasadam, but the washing of the kitchen, the chanting your rounds early in the morning becomes something amazing, something wonderful. It's just the private time between me and Krishna. The time when I can just speak to Krishna and He's listening to me. And maybe one day He will also start speaking to me. I wanted to say how, we are mentioning about this miracle, the miracle of the creation of the Lord Chaitanya's movement. it's so wonderful to see how like someone is getting in contact with this movement, and gradually his whole life start changing, and not only his life but also the life of those who are in contact with him. Like recently in my country, in Bulgaria, there was one family. The wife joined. We were making kirtans, and she came for a kirtan, and she became interested. And after the kirtan, she said, "Who are you and what are you doing?" And we said, "Yeah, we have books. You can read about us." And she got the book. She started reading. She started coming to the temple. Then she introduced her husband, and he was not really into spiritual stuff and not really especially into Krishna consciousness. And then anyway, we were just associating with him. And after maybe 1 or 2 visits, he was like completely different person. He entered the temple. He's a big man, serious man. He just entered the temple. He was just like that. We couldn't believe like what's happening here. And I spoke little with him, and he said, "Yeah, now I understand. This is the truth." Like you have sometimes this, how they call them, newborn Christians. They just came for second time in the church, and already they're like completely like, "Yes, I know. This is the way and the truth." And so, and I was like amazed, like, Haribo. And then after that, the kids, they were not really into Krishna consciousness, but slowly also they started coming, and okay, the parents are coming, I guess we have to also accept it, what to do. And some years ago, we had also similar case like this one. The lady became favorable, and she started practicing. But then the husband and the 2 kids, a boy and a girl, they were really not into it. And later they shared with me, they said, "Yeah, we were thinking our mom, she just became crazy or something like that." But then later she managed, somehow, I don't know, the ladies, they have this power to really convince the husband in whatever they want. Like if they want the husband to buy them something, they can convince him. And if they want to convince him to become a Krishna conscious, again, somehow they have the Shakti. Generally, if the wife becomes first a Hare Krishna and she want to convince the husband, there is a big chance that he will also become a Hare Krishna. And in this case also, like he came to a program, somehow she managed to bring him for a program. And he was very negative. She just came. They are like very rich people. He just came and sat down like for 5 minutes, and he was looking very negative, like he was sitting like that. And after 5 or 10 minutes, he just got up and left. He didn't say nothing. But then somehow she convinced him to listen to the lectures of this, maybe you have heard about him, very famous Russian devotee who is a Ayurvedic doctor, Audarya Dama Prabhu. So he has this somehow, I don't know, he has some mystic power, I think, also. And he's managing to convert many people to Krishna consciousness. And this lady, asked him just to listen his lectures, because they're not Hare Krishna lectures, they are about healthy lifestyle and regulation and this and that. And he started listening these lectures, and after like half a year, he became a devotee. And he started coming, associating with us, like inviting us in he has like big house, and inviting us to stay there for like weeks. Just he said, because this is on the Black Sea resort area. So he said, you just come, you stay here, and you can just go and travel and distribute books and don't worry about anything. And he just buys amazing food for us, like amazing. And then again, because the 2 parents became devotees and the kids said, okay, I guess we also have to become a Hare Krishna now. And they also became a Hare Krishna. And now the boy, he's actually in the Brahmachari ashram in Sofia temple. And the girl, she is very favorable. And the girl the father, because they are kind of like conservative people, so the father disliked knowing about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. The father disliked the idea that his young daughter will just have a friend. Like, this is not possible. In the Hare Krishna philosophy, you don't have this idea, but having a friend. So he said, if you want to have a friend, you just have to find a boy and just have to marry. You cannot just go out together in night time or something like that. And that was like a big conflict. Like, no, I cannot do that and this and that. So anyway, at the end, the girl went out of home, living for some time outside, and she found a friend, a boyfriend. And then this boy, he's a very famous rap singer. Sometimes he has like, his rap songs have like 3-4 million views, something like that. So, because she's a very like a sattvic girl, and he was very attracting. He said, how like you look very nice, and I see you're always speaking very calmly, and how you do this? And then she started preaching to him. And she was never very serious, like not chanting rounds or this or that. But she started preaching to him, and he became super serious. And now he's pushing her to chant and to read every day Bhagavad Gita. And like, it's amazing, like it's like a disease basically. You just get in contact with someone who is to some extent Hare Krishna, and you also start getting Hare Krishna. It's a miracle, and this is actually the miracle of the creation of the Lord Chaitanya's movement. Somehow or other, so many people are getting in contact with this movement, and they are getting purified, and their lives become changed. They understand, okay, Krishna is the Supreme Lord, I'm His servant, and I guess I have to serve. That is what is life all about. So we have this opportunity. We have still many years to go by Krishna's grace in this body, and we can do lots of service for Krishna, and we should try to use this opportunity. As in one very famous song it is said, Yare Deka Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. Actually this is from CC, a verse from CC. Amara Gya Guru Hara Tare Idesh. Whenever we meet someone, we have to just tell them about Krishna. Or if we are very, like some people, they are more like, they're not so much outgoing people. It's difficult for them just to go somewhere and speak to someone. You may not just speak with them, you can just give them a book. Just give them the book, give them a pamphlet, or give them the visit card to the temple. And maybe you are their saving grace. Maybe you will be the reason. Krishna will use it as an instrument to become the reason, so that they can come and associate with the devotees and become serious devotees and become everlastingly liberated personalities. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for your attention. Do you have some? How I came to Krishna consciousness. I think this is the favorite question of in the Hare Krishna movement. I came in Krishna consciousness when I was maybe 16 or 17 years old. I decided that I want to make a big muscles, like all the 17 or so teenagers. And I was following very strict diet. So one day I was just going in the center of Sofia, and I was always bringing healthy food from home. I was making sandwiches. So I just stopped on one place to eat my healthy sandwich. And a lady came to me and said, can I show you some books while you're eating? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So she started showing me. she showed me a few books, and I don't know why. Like I never, to tell you something about myself, I was never into reading books or education so much. I did well. I had good marks when I finished school, but that was just because I knew I had to do it. But I never like naturally into reading so much, this, that. And I don't know why when this lady was speaking all these things to me, and I said, I was always wondering what is yoga all about, and I always wanted to know what is yoga. I don't know why I said this. Like I never wanted to know what is yoga. I just came out of my mouth. And she said, "Oh, really? Okay, I'll explain you now." And she opened the biggest book of all that was there. This is what I remember. It was the biggest of all. And she started reading some verses to me. You just started reading verses. And what were these verses? Maybe you will recount them from Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami is saying, what is the use to use a pillow if you can use your hands? What is the use to use plates if you can use your palms? And so on and so on. Like that, maybe 10 verses this lady was reading to me. I was like, wow, so that is yoga. Wow, amazing. And then at the end she said, okay, anyway, just give me some money so that I won't give you a book. And I said, fine, I'll give you, but I have just like 30 cents. She said, fine, give me 30 cents, I'll give you a book. So she gave me the Perfection of Yoga. And she gave me address card and said, read the book, come to our center. I said, okay. Then I went home and I started reading the book. Maybe for 4 or 5 days I read the whole book. And I was like, wow, it's amazing. What I read, it's amazing. Because at that time I was already feeling what we are doing in school. I don't really like it, and I don't think I want to do this for the next like 6, 7, 8 years. So I was thinking what I want to do, but I didn't know what. And in this book, the answer was very clear. This is what you have to do. This is what you're supposed to do. And if you do it, you'll be happy. And it was like, phew. And I remember also, like, I was thinking the language this person, the author of the book that is speaking, it's very heavy. It's very heavy, but he's saying the truth. Yes, I could feel he's saying the truth. And everything was like a little bit mystical. Like the book itself, it was looking very mystical. At that time, the book we had in Bulgaria, Perfection of Yoga, it was a little bit, the size was kind of weird size. It was like this. It's not like now the books, they have this very like harmonical shape for a book for reading. You can easily hold it, and this book was a little bit like that. It was a very strange book, and the drawing in front was really Indian. Like Krishna was looking Indian, and I think it was Krishna and Uddhava on the picture. And the font that they were using to write the title, it was also some little bit like Krishna book with these dots and everything was there. And on the back was the picture of Prabhupada, only the head of Srila Prabhupada, and he had 2 huge spots of sandal on his head. And like everything was completely different. And like I was thinking, what is this? What is this movement? Looks very strange, but very attractive at the same time. So anyway, I kind of got my courage, and I said, I'm going. And then I went, and I entered the place, the center. There was nobody. So I just sit down there, and I was waiting the time to come for this famous program. And then suddenly 3 devotees came, with the clothes, with dhotis and tilak and everything, and I was a little bit like, what's going on here? And then they opened one cupboard. It was a small cupboard in the corner of the room. They opened this cupboard and there was 3 doves there. Doves, Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra Devi. And they started singing with strange instruments on a strange language. And they gave me this sheet of paper and they said, you just look here for the translation. And everything was super strange. And then at the end of the program came, and this lady who invited me, she hardly spoke with me. She basically maybe told me, I don't know, 2 sentences, because I guess at that time that was really the culture, like girls speak only with girls and boys speak only with boys, and that's it. So she basically told me 2 sentences and brought one brahmachari, shining, and said, he'll take care of you. And I said, okay, this sounds scary. So he came after maybe 5 minutes with such a plate with prasadam, and it was like that. Really, like that. And he said, this for you, you have to eat it. I said, I mean, I cannot eat this for a whole day, what to speak just for a dinner. And he just tapped me on the shoulder and he said, don't worry, you eat it slowly, you have time. I was like, what's going on here? And I'm a small boy, like I'm 17. And they were like maybe in their like 26, 30 years old people. So I was a little bit like, okay, guess I have to listen what they say. And then this brahmachari sat down to me and we started speaking and talking. And after maybe 1.5 hours, the plate was gone. And I was like surprised. And I didn't felt any heaviness. Nothing. Like I was like, wow, what is this food? And then I remember then I had to go because it was already late. And when I went out of this place, it was like a big house. And I had the feeling that I would start flying in the sky. I don't know why. It was such a happiness, such like I was amazed. I said, wow, I feel amazing here. But then wait a minute. I shouldn't come too often here because it's dangerous. I may become too attracted. So I won't come more than once in a month here. Like I made my own regulation. And then the next maybe 6-7 months I was coming, but only once a month. And then anyway, gradually devotees, they hooked me more and more and more. They asked me to go with them to Black Sea for 2 weeks, and then I surrendered. I started chanting, so gradually like that. But actually there is a story before this story. Something interesting. When I was maybe 12 or 13 years old, I remember one night my father came back from work and he just already from the door of the apartment, he just said, my dear, to my mom, my dear, just come to see what I brought for you. And my mother went immediately. He said, I'm hearing from the other room. What is this? A book? Indian book? Why you brought me an Indian book? What I'm going to do with it? No, wait. I met a nice boy. And he told me, the boy said, it's a very nice book. So we are going to read it. And anyway, there was another present. So my mother, she was very happy with the second present. But then I remember I took this book and I was looking it. And it was again very strange book. It was looking strange. Everything was strange about this book. But it was very attractive. So we just put the book on the shelf. But when the summer came, at some point I didn't have what to do. And I remember I took this book and I tried to read it. And I read maybe 50 pages from the book. But I remember it was very difficult to read because there was these names inside. They were so complicated to pronounce, and to remember them even more difficult. Like I was like, this is too much. And then I just closed the book and I put it back. And that was it. And then when I became devotee, I remembered about this. And I went, one time when I was home, I went and I saw the book was still there. And I took the book and I saw inside there was a paper that it was showing to which place I was reading the book. Then I got it and I finished it. That was the second part of Krishna book. So I don't know, somehow my father met someone on the street and I think my father that day he got a salary, so he was more like generous. And he got the book, he brought it back. He never read it, my mother never read it, but I read it. And I did not become a devotee then, but later I met the devotees and then I finished the book. So we don't know what will happen when the book will meet someone and make him a devotee. Thank you very much. Grantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada Maratona ki jai.